Appreciate it. Yeah, just kind of wanted to walk through kind of the ideas of Burn Finance. Burn Finance is a fully decentralized marketplace that just launched on Monday, and go check it out at app.burnt.com. I think a lot of what I want to focus on today isn't necessarily what we kind of dropped on Monday, but effectively what the future is of Burn Finance and what kind of is the big deal about a fully decentralized marketplace. Well, that's the end, I guess. Yeah, that's it. So what is Burn Finance? Obviously no central clearinghouse. I kind of don't really have to describe to a lot of people here what a fully decentralized auction protocol means, but kind of giving you the key points. We obviously don't take transaction fees. There's obviously no application process. There's no clearinghouse. We do take anti-fraud measurements on chain. And I think a lot of this you've kind of seen, so I'll kind of gloss over this additionally to the supporters that we've had during this entire process that we have to thank immensely. So just kind of getting into our decentralized bidding mechanism, working very closely with the Metaplex team, especially the standard that they had put out. And I think a lot of this is just kind of base case that I won't dive into too much detail with. But I think as we do start to kind of grow and everything kind of stakes into its own performance, right? We do see a marketplace in this kind of aspect as something different. I think the aspect of a marketplace has been something that's extremely centralized over the past couple hundred years. And the ability for it to be, effectively a Web 2 concept, right? And so you do have these kind of two supply-side, demand-side marketplaces where, yes, you have some aspect of games. And of course, this is just a GameFi example. I think as we kind of get into this, it'll get a little more intricate and interesting. But effectively what you see on this platform, pure peer-to-peer. And then I think when we do go to lending flow, this is honestly where I do want to spend the most of my time on this slide. What I see, especially when I talk to customers on this aspect of lending, or NFTs in general, right? Everyone has an NFT that's just kind of hanging in their wallet. Right now, the rates on NFT lending is very high, and you kind of have this discrepancy between debtor and creditor in this kind of facility. Kind of on the debtor side, you have someone who doesn't want to sell their NFT. You have someone who the rates are very high. If they wanted to get quick asset, liquidation, they could just sell it. But then you also have this kind of lender side, right, which is a mental disconnect kind of from the traditional thing that we're seeing right now, where you see, NFTs don't have value, what's stopping you from just dumping on me? And I think when we kind of look at this, and this is like a very, very basic kind of version of where we're going now, and a lot of this, and I'll kind of walk through, I don't know if it's probably best to do this, but the idea that there shouldn't be appraisals is a very big concept of mine. I think two aspects. Any on-chain metric just purely doesn't make sense, whether that be a floor price, any medium, really anything that can be manipulated. You do kind of start seeing this when it comes to the aspect of lending and kind of pricing in an NFT. Kind of for this aspect, you obviously see it's manipulatable, right? You had something like, Paradigm's old paper on perpetual floor pricing. And that's interesting and all, but it's extremely gameable, especially if you don't really have a stake in the race. And so what we want to do is kind of cut out this complete aspect of an appraisal system, completely cut that out, and then let the people who effectively are really in it for and have stake in the game in it be the ones who are properly appraising it. And so this is kind of a confusing slide, and I'll more or less kind of just talk to it. But on a more simple note, you kind of have a few variables when it comes to this. You obviously have debtor, someone giving out the NFT. You have lender. You have a variable of rate. You have a variable of loan value, and you have a variable of time. I think just today we just finished our audit on our initial payment in kind lending contract, which is going to be, in fact, if you look here, payment in kind lending contract is the first iteration of this. And right now it's a pure peer-to-peer, something that you'll normally see with rather high rates. But I think as we do start to grow and everything starts to kind of come to fruition, you're going to see a lot of these variables kind of taking form in their own shapes, right? Instead of peer-to-peer, we notice a huge lack of liquidity when it comes to lending in this aspect. And then additionally, kind of the idea with that is to make this more of a pool-to-pool lending, in which we pre-fractionalize the NFTs in order to create a synthetic spot price for the NFTs, whereby all of the funds used to effectively bid on this synthetic fractionalized NFT then gets used as the loan value. All debt repayments are then dispersed back into the pool, something similar that you would see to like an Aave lending pool. But what this does is it keeps more of a spot price on the NFTs. And so in this aspect, we do have this kind of intricate, completely on-chain, completely, a completely non-gameable, effectively, price discovery mechanism for a spot price in terms of lending, right? And then we do get to the point of like kind of this paradigm shift where When we talk about the aspect of time, which is rather interesting, you get to this point of, taking a different perspective on the actual lending approach, especially a payment in kind lending approach. It kind of is very similar to something like a pawn shop loan. And this is easier just to kind of imagine, where I say, I'm giving you X now, you have the option to rebuy it back at X plus interest with a premium. Right, now if we kind of look at this and take that into perspective, what we can do is, rather than defining a specific time for this, we can essentially roll this over, right? And I think this is important, this aspect of rolling this over, because when you do have a contract like this, where people are getting benefits on both sides, we've effectively, accidentally, created NFT perpetual contracts. And this is interesting because when we do work with something like this, the idea of composability is obviously really huge in us. And so having a quasi-spot price in this and creating this base market of perpetuals for NFTs with, actual value locked in, is very important to us. We never want to be in the situation of 2008 where someone's left holding the bag. And, when we have this kind of spot price determined based off of cash flows or interest rate payments, this is the aspect that we're getting to at this rate. I think as we start to kind of hit this roadmap, this is what you see. And a lot of where we are going now is, a huge amount of this launching, lending, fractionalization, and real GameFi initiatives. That's about it. I'm done. Thanks.